The judge removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. When he looked up, his expression was one of profound disappointment, not in Maria, but in the system he represented. "Lieutenant Sanchez," he said, "I owe you an apology. This court owes you an apology. Your country certainly owes you better than what you received from Officer Matthews." He turned to the prosecutor, a young district attorney who had remained silent throughout the proceedings. "I assume the state wishes to dismiss all charges." The prosecutor stood quickly. "Yes, Your Honor, with prejudice. So ordered." The judge's gavel came down with finality. "Furthermore, I am referring this matter to the district attorney's office for investigation into possible criminal charges against Officer Matthews, including falsifying evidence, perjury, and civil rights violations. Officer Matthews, you are suspended from duty effective immediately pending investigation." Matthews had slumped in his chair, his career and life crumbling around him in real time. But Maria felt no satisfaction in his downfall, only a deep sadness that it had come to this, that she had needed her status and connections to receive basic justice, while countless others without her advantages had no such recourse. As the courtroom began to empty, several people approached Maria. A young Latina woman with tears in her eyes thanked her for standing up, for not backing down. An elderly black man shook her hand and told her his grandson had been arrested by Matthews last year on similar charges. A white couple apologized on behalf of a system that had failed her. But the person whose words meant the most was a skinny teenage boy who approached her hesitantly, his mother hovering protectively beside him. "Ma'am," he said in accented English, "my name is Carlos. Officer Matthews arrested my father 2 years ago. Said he was drunk driving, but he wasn't. We couldn't afford a lawyer, so my father took a plea deal. He lost his job. We almost lost our house." Maria's heart broke. "I'm so sorry," she said. "That shouldn't have happened. Because of you. Maybe it gets fixed now," his mother said, squeezing Maria's hand. "Thank you for being brave. Thank you for not hiding who you are." As Maria walked out of the courthouse into the bright California sunshine, Janet Chen caught up with her. "You know," the public defender said, "you could have revealed all of this in our first meeting. Saved yourself weeks of stress, avoided this trial entirely." Maria smiled for the first time that day. Maybe. But then Matthews would have just moved on to his next victim. Someone who didn't have the resources to fight back. This way, he's exposed. His pattern is documented. And maybe, just maybe, some of his other victims will get justice too. "You're not just a warrior," Janet said admiringly. "You're a strategist." "I'm both," Maria replied. "That's what it takes to survive in my line of work. You can't just fight the battles in front of you. You have to think about the war." 3 months later, Maria stood in a very different courtroom, this time as a witness in the federal civil rights trial of Derek Matthews. 14 of his former victims had come forward, and the evidence of his systematic abuse of power was overwhelming. The trial made national news, sparking conversations about police accountability, racial profiling, and the importance of believing victims even when they don't have status or power. But for Maria, the most meaningful moment came afterward, at a community center in the same neighborhood where she'd been pulled over. She had been invited to speak to a group of young people, many of them children of immigrants like herself, about service and perseverance. "I didn't become a Navy SEAL to prove anything to people. Like Officer Matthews," she told the assembled teenagers. "I did it because I believe in service. I believe in protecting people who can't protect themselves. I believe that our country, for all its flaws, is worth fighting for, and worth fighting to improve." A young girl raised her hand. "But weren't you scared, when he was lying about you, when everyone believed him instead of you?" Maria considered the question carefully. "I've been scared many times in my life," she admitted. "I was scared during Hell Week when my body wanted to quit. I was scared in combat when bullets were flying and I was responsible for keeping my team alive. And yes, I was scared in that courtroom, knowing that injustice might prevail." "So what did you do?" another teenager asked. "I remembered why I serve," Maria said simply. "Not for recognition or respect from people who've already decided what I am before knowing who I am. I serve because kindness matters. Because standing up for others matters. Because one person choosing to do the right thing, even when it's hard, even when it costs something, that can change everything." She looked around at the young faces watching her, seeing hope and determination reflected back. Officer Matthews thought he knew who I was based on how I looked. He thought he could define me, diminish me, dismiss me. But the truth is, no one gets to tell you who you are except you. You define yourself by your actions, your choices, your willingness to stand up not just for yourself but for others who need someone to stand with them. As the event concluded and Maria prepared to leave, the same woman whose son had been victimized by Matthews approached her one more time. "My husband got his conviction overturned," she said, tears streaming down her face. "They gave him his job back with back pay. We're going to be okay. Because of you, we're going to be okay." Maria hugged her tightly, feeling the weight of responsibility and privilege that came with her position. She had been given opportunities and training and status that opened doors others couldn't access. The question wasn't whether that was fair, it wasn't. The question was what she would do with those advantages. Driving home that evening, past the spot where Matthews had pulled her over all those months ago, Maria thought about the long chain of people who had made her journey possible. Her parents, who had immigrated from El Salvador with nothing but hope and determination. Her high school teacher who had encouraged her to join the Navy. Her SEAL instructors who had pushed her beyond what she thought were her limits. The teammates who had accepted her as one of their own, judging her only by her performance and her character. And she thought about all the Derek Matthews of the world, people who used their power to hurt rather than help, who saw difference as threat rather than strength, who built themselves up by tearing others down. The battle between these two visions of humanity was never ending. But Maria knew which side she was on. She had sworn an oath to protect and defend, and that oath didn't end when she took off her uniform. It was woven into who she was, part of her DNA now. Her phone buzzed with a message from her SEAL team commander. "Heard about the trial. Proud of you. Come back safe when your leave is up. We need you." Maria smiled. She would go back. She would continue serving, continue fighting, continue standing up for those who needed someone in their corner. Not because she was special or extraordinary, but because she was human, and being human meant recognizing that we're all connected, that justice for one is justice for all, that the measure of a society is how it treats its most vulnerable members. Officer Matthews had looked at her and seen only what he wanted to see. But she had looked at him and seen an opportunity, not for revenge, but for change. To expose not just one corrupt cop but a system that enabled corruption. To stand not just for herself but for everyone who had been crushed under the weight of prejudice and abuse of power. That night, Maria slept better than she had in months. Tomorrow she would return to base, back to the demanding and dangerous work she had chosen. But tonight, she rested easy knowing that she had fought a different kind of battle and emerged victorious, not through violence or vengeance, but through truth, patience, and an unwavering commitment to justice. In the end, that was what being a warrior truly meant. Not the weapons you carried or the enemies you defeated, but the principles you upheld and the people you protected along the way. Officer Matthews had tried to make her small. Instead, she had shown him, and everyone watching, exactly how powerful one person could be when they refused to be anything less than who they truly were.